Brothers and sisters, thanks so much for being with us. My favorite guest ever is with me again tonight. So if you see stars in my eyes, that's why. That's right, my favorite guest, the wife of the world's handsomest man, Natalie Stefanick.
Oh, boy.
Sorry. So it begins. We're going to deep dive tonight into Natalie's journey of healing from sex abuse as a child and the ways that blessed our marriage. Because as crazy as this sounds, like I wouldn't have it any other way. We're going to dive into that. This is not just for you if you've dealt with this, which would narrow us down to millions and millions and millions of viewers. Right. That's like 25% of the population. It's not just for you if you're married, because the stuff we're going to talk about has to deal with general, just leaning into healing and the grace of God and starting over. It's not for you if you're a kid. So parents, you might want to not have them watch this one.
Good disclaimer.
But thanks so much for being with us, guys. Natalie, thank you for being with us tonight. We really appreciate you.
You're very welcome.
I love you.
I love you.
No,
too.
seriously though, thank you, because this is not, hey, let's just rip open every scab.
Right.
But you know what? The more you talk about this, I notice the less it feels like ripping open a scab, which is actually part of the healing and owning this.
Yeah.
I don't. Without going into a lot of the details, because last time we went into just your whole journey of your conversion, and how you came to the Lord, and the whole wounding and coming back to Jesus. And by the way, if you haven't seen that one, you got to watch it. I love your testimony. It's so awesome. But so I want to get. We didn't get to this last time. I wanted to get to just what you went through to heal. But for those who didn't see that, give us like the 90-second overview, if you can, of just the wounding.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the journey of healing. So
okay. The wounding really began when I was 8, and my exposure to porn from family.
Yeah.
Should I just say?
Yeah.
And then when I was,
which a lot of people think is, it wasn't like, hey, watch this. It was just sitting out, and some.
Well, my brothers dug it out.
Okay,
They found it, you know. But so that exposure already started forming my brain to objectify women, therefore me. But when I was 11, I was sexually abused by my brother's friend, and then I was sexually abused 3 more times. 13, I think, 14, and then 19, maybe. Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head. But the interesting part is that I didn't ever categorize it as abuse because I thought I was at fault, and because I knew them, it was not a alley, kicking and screaming. That's what I always say.
I'm glad you specified brother's friend, because parents are on the lookout for the stranger, and it's often a person where it's like you see someone's humanity in front of you.
Yeah, you had that experience too with your sister, right?
Oh yeah. You see someone's humanity, and you like, I trust this person.
Mm-hmm, of course.
Or the brain even turns off, where it's like, what's happening isn't happening.
It's just kind of the cliche. It's denial.
It's like an instant survival mechanism, denial.
Right. Like
you're in the dentist chair, and suddenly you're thinking you're on the beach, right? But it's like next level.
Right.
So you didn't categorize it as abuse.
Right. And also because no one reacted to it. That first episode, my mom and brother knew about it. In my mom's defense, I don't remember when she found out about it, but regardless, it was within the year or so. Yeah. And it was just brushed under the rug. I think she said, "I'm really sorry," or something like that, at best. I mean, she didn't know how to deal with it. I think my brother...
And he was a kid at the time, too.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So there's this overall stupidity, woundedness. Then there's honestly,
it's a sex-saturated culture. I don't blame...
Culture was nuts. There's something about, like, okay, the whole Me Too thing, the world has gone a little crazy in that direction sometimes, but there's something really good about it, too, because I'm thinking, like, also of the sex abuse crisis within the church. Like, people didn't talk about this at all in the 80s.
For sure.
Like, sex abuse was almost never called what it was.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Percentage of people who was like,
about...
everybody in authority treated it like, well, whatever. This is what you do. You don't talk about it.
If anyone even, most of the time, the victim never spoke about it. So it's not like people, I think my situation was well, maybe it wasn't rare. I don't know. You're probably right.
No, yeah.
So
I'm not saying that to diminish it at
yeah,
all.
no.
This is just so common.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I read just earlier this week, 1 out of every 3 girls, and I think 1 out of every 6 boys.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. And still
Unbelievable.
people don't talk about it.
No, in fact, I gave a talk at my parish at a women's retreat.
Yeah.
100 women. Only 1 came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh my gosh, I can relate to your story." There's no way that was the only victim in that room.
25 women in that room at least.
Yeah.
Out of the 100 would have been victims
And
of sex abuse.
it's just so sad to me. I mean, it's because that ancient lie of shame is still oppressing women, even though it's, Goodwill Hunting. It's not your fault. It's not.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
I know. It's.
And you know what? Jim Beckman brought this up when he was talking about his experience of healing, and that's another episode you got to watch. That one of the wounds is ambivalence. Like it's hard to make firm decisions about things because you feel within yourself.
Yes.
Not only the abandonment of the family, but on one level, a basic biological level, enjoyment or curiosity that within you is translated as these coexisting things where you don't
Right.
feel like for the rest of your life you could be decisive.
Right.
By the way, I'm going to ask some questions, including questions I got from people online about this topic a while ago. I want to honor those. And while I'm doing this, feel free to interrupt our discussion. You could text your questions to 720-650-0100. 720-650-0100.
Can I comment on
Yeah,
that
please.
part? I had a crush on this first boy, so
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
That sense of ambivalence, like, wait, this trusted person, this person that I actually,
Yeah.
had a crush on,
And you're a little
did
girl.
this.
Yeah. I mean, like, so it's.
And yet I didn't feel little immediately afterwards. Yeah, it's a strange thing. You just immediately, there's no innocence. It's
Within
gone.
Within minutes, it especially when you're young, it spurs on these personality traits and trends
yeah.
in behavior that you don't even know are there for years.
Right.
What were these trends and traits?
That I put on a very tough exterior, first of all, and so that I couldn't be hurt. And I would do anything. I began to party, and it was like I led my friends into sin because I thought that if I led, then I couldn't be taken advantage of. So I always went one step further. We're not just going to drink; we're going to smoke pot. We're going to. Of course, I supplied that, and it just.
Yeah, you go back into the situation, but now feel control because
Right.
you're doing it worse than
That's
everybody.
right. And so that control piece, that was the identifying piece. Fast forward, I don't know if you want to fast forward, but into
go
our
ahead.
marriage, 10 years into our marriage. Did I say this last time about the book?
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
Actually, this is great to see. And
Okay.
Tina asked too, how did the process start for you to be healed?
Okay.
And also, by connection, how do you help a loved one begin to heal? So this book story answers Tina's question and the
That's
question of
true.
a lot of people.
But you were my spouse.
Yeah.
But so we were 10 years into marriage. Our intimate life was kind of a train wreck.
Yeah, and thanks to the denial, I had no idea. It was like I was
Right.
denying it. So I was like, something's off.
Yeah. I mean, can you, my heart breaks for you,
Oh, no.
Oh, it does. I mean, it breaks for me, little me too,
Yeah.
but like it does break for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go give myself a big hug if I go back in time. Like,
Yeah,
"It's
I mean,
okay,
to not
buddy."
even know what's going
Something's
on when
off.
I look
don't
at
know
you,
what.
like my eye, I can't
Yeah.
imagine what my eyes looked like, like just scared, and you're thinking, I'm your husband. Don't be scared,
No, it was
Because it was an emotional, like, frigidity as well as a
yeah,
physical frigidity that I was experiencing, just to kind of put a name to what was happening.
yeah.
Um,
So there's a book.
um,
I don't
so-
know what started to open my
Right.
eyes to something being wrong. I really don't remember, but
Well, yeah, maybe I'll share this piece first. I mean, I was a very anxious, uptight, controlling person. And I didn't like myself. I knew that I struggled with that. I always just called myself crazy and, too many kids or something. But I mean, I remember one last episode in which I felt really out of control, and it was spurred on only by kind of a very simple thing. We picked the kids up from school and wanted to spend half a day in the mountains, but we had to make it back down. Well, it got screwed up. The schedule got screwed up. I remember spiraling in our bedroom from that piece. I mean, I can't even put myself back in that place where I can remember the actual thoughts. But I was suicidal. Like,
Yeah, like you just want to die.
like my world was just, like I said, it's hard to, that sounds really far-fetched and crazy, but
there's a great saying, I don't know where this is from, if it's hysterical, it's historical, right?
Yes, that's your mom.
That's my mom always says that. Like if your hysteria internally doesn't match what's coming at you in real life, in real time, there's something in your history that's being kicked up probably.
That's right. The overreaction. And that was just an extreme. And maybe it's because my daughter was approaching, some people said this, approaching the age that I had been with the first abuse. But anyways, that almost immediately preceded the book. Okay, the book is that we were at Barnes & Noble cashing in our annual gift cards from your mom for Christmas.
Mom and Dad.
And Chris comes over and drops on the little kid table that we were sitting at, The Courage to Heal. It was a book for survivors of sexual abuse. And I didn't understand why you were giving it to me because I never categorized myself as a survivor. And you don't remember why either, huh?
I guess the growing sense that something was off, and as I strolled through the store, I mean, it was a grace-filled moment, I think.
For sure.
And the book is amazing, by the way. But quick footnote: it's not written from a Christian perspective. Right. There's things in it I disagree with, but there was stuff in it that was like, whoa.
So the first and most important piece for me was identifying myself as a survivor, and it happened when I opened a chapter all about what a survivor's behavior looks like, and it talked about control. And I was just, that was me. And so then I flipped to the front. Well, what does it mean to be sexually abused? And then I mean, of course I was,
Yeah.
And there was so much relief, much relief, because I had a direction. I had in other words, I could call myself a survivor. Finally, I had to work up to it wasn't my fault still,
Yeah.
But at least I knew what the problem was. And then I can go to therapy and start dealing with it. Because I was no stranger to therapy, which, I mean, it's no surprise.
Thanks for the courage, by the way. And I know a lot of what drove you to that was love for me.
Absolutely.
So I'll be forever grateful for that. That's why when you, the way I've come to process all this, a couple years ago, I probably burst into tears even thinking about old me and what I was going through without knowing I was going through it as a young man.
Right.
But I just feel so much gratitude now that it's overcome those other feelings. I'm just so grateful for you that you had that love for so you didn't just do it for your own freedom. I know in the times when you wanted to throw in the towel, it's like, I love my husband.
100%.
So
yeah, I couldn't live with myself breaking your heart, like over and over, or like having our intimate life not thrive.
I love you. Thank you, Natty.
You're welcome.
Praise God.
So I started
healing. Yeah. So what? This is a question that came in from Marty. What process did you find most helpful in healing, in ongoing healing?
EMDR.
Yeah, spell that out.
Okay.
You're excited about EMDR for good reason, and we don't often get a chance to talk about that. It's really cool.
Right. EMDR is a process by which, well, the process is interesting and kind of funky, and I was certainly a cynic. In my case, it was listening to tones like through an old school Walkman headphone, and it was like a metronome, boop, boop, boop. And while I was listening to the tones, you have these little paddles in your hand connected to that little device that are buzzing with the tone, back and forth, alternating. And you could set the tempo, the volume, you wanted to push yourself to have it as loud and as strong as you could without it being uncomfortable. Yeah. Again, I don't know the science behind this, but
this is not a snake oil salesman stuff. This is accepted.
No, yeah, this is 100%.
And pretty mainstream among counselors, and I don't think they know why it works. Just that
yeah, that's what my therapist said. She said we don't exactly know why, but what it does is trauma is stored in a different part of your brain. But of course, every day we operate out of the frontal lobe. But when you've heard trigger, you know that word, when we're triggered, what's happening is that that trauma is being accessed and you're overreacting to something, but you can't process it because it's not here yet. So I could tell myself till I was blue in the face that you are not my abuser. But I wasn't able to access the memory to process the truth, to speak into that memory.
It's profound.
EMDR lets those two parts of your brain communicate somehow through that weird.
And you would go through remembering in profound detail.
Oh, yeah.
I
almost don't want to scare people away.
While these things were unlocked in you. And I know there would be times after EMDR you just wanted to puke.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. But through that process of remembering again and again, you bring it to the forefront until it no longer was traumatic.
What happens is the end result is that like I said, you're able to speak into that memory, speak truth into it, and it desensitizes the memory. So it doesn't have as much power anymore. So you're not reacting to it at all.
The D is desensitization.
Yes,
in the EMDR.
yes. Eye movement, maybe repetition. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So that when things come up, well, when they come up, when you remember them, when you recall them, maybe unwillingly, it just comes. You're no longer.
Oh yeah,
my
body had memory. I mean, and there's a great book, the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
For trauma victims, but yeah, your body has memory. Everything about you is like, I mean.
And there's a few levels too. There's the level of healing from trauma. There's also the level of renouncing of lies. That's the
second piece.
Yeah. Share about that.
So talk therapy for many years. Then after I was months with a therapist, then you do EMDR. That's a major thing that I want to point out. You don't just jump into EMDR with a new therapist because you're not feeling safe yet. You will not go as deep. And you need to go with one that's been certified from the EMDR Institute. I got to say that because I've met so many people who are like, well, I've tried, it doesn't work.
Right.
Did you do that? Every time they have not done it. The way I just spelled out. Okay. But then there is the renunciation piece, the spiritual aspect. I really just wanted to cover every angle, because I just wanted to crush I want to thrive, I wanted to be free. So Unbound, the book Unbound was recommended to me, and actually Jim Beckman and his wife Meg were the ones
and have you read the Chris Stefanick book, I Am? No, she hasn't, ladies and gentlemen. My wife does not read my book.
I'm the one who helped you write that.
You're right, you did.
Turkey. Wow.
Turkey. Watch your mouth, Natalie. No, yeah, it was that process of recognizing that, and this boils down to a lot of what counseling is all about. The negative cognitions, what are you saying to yourself? Right. And there's a spiritual component to those things where you're telling yourself a lie, you gotta identify it, renounce it, tell yourself the truth. There's that next level too of the inner vows that you take, like things you start to think without thinking them. Like I'm on autopilot saying, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm not safe. It's like, no, I'm gonna counter those with truths in the gospel. The inner vows, you start to will things like, I don't know, I have to make everyone happy. And therefore I vowed that. I don't even know that I took that inner vow to renounce that lie, that vow, that promise of your heart. So all this stuff is just part of healing.
Any possible demons, that are spirits attached to these things. That it's like I don't really typically go much into that realm. Yeah, kind of freaks me out a little bit. But
you don't have to go far to use
I don't
your
have to go
as a
far.
Christian.
That's right.
You just say it.
In Jesus' name, I renounce the spirit of fear or the spirit of shame, or
Yeah. So it really is that simple. You recognize an inner promise or vow or lie. I renounce in Jesus' name the lie that I am inherently broken, and I send to the foot of the cross any demon associated with that lie that's helping me live out of it, to be punished by Jesus and sent to hell where it belongs.
Right.
And I claim the truth that I am whole in Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
One that I've been working on recently.
It's both those things.
Yeah.
So some people think it's either counseling or this. Like, no, it's the 1-2.
100%
You get cancer, you do chemo, and you're praying. You're doing both these things, and the Lord works through the whole process.
Totally. I can't handle when people. I mean, it's
one or the other.
It's frustrating,
why?
or you're just cerebral and not emotional. Or you're just, like, we
Right,
are
right.
a beautifully,
Yeah.
composite
Yeah.
creature.
Amen.
I just wanted to say that because I see this a lot I can almost peg survivors
Yeah.
because of their control, but also, especially if they're moms, because of their fierce need to protect their mama bears
Yeah.
in
Someone
the
had
extreme.
asked any advice you give to protect your daughters from
I mean,
abuse.
see, this is kind of, of course you do things to protect you. You don't
Right.
let, unknown babysitters come into your house or,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Frankly, I don't I'd rather not use any babysitters ever, but like
Yeah.
good Catholic girls from the AI or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
we're a
that's
little
who we
spoiled
have used. We are
Yeah.
spoiled. But yeah, that spirit of self-protection, that is just fierce. There has to be some level of surrender.
Amen. Patty asked, "What are your tips for making it through when things are really, really hard?" And I have some things I could speak into this too.
Go ahead.
I mean, for me, this whole process was for a time something I resented, and then something I came to realize, oh, this is how the Lord's healing me. And my counselor went to when you were going through counseling. And by the way, if your wife's going through this, dude, you need to go to counseling too.
Immediately.
Yeah, right
preemptively.
because it's hard to make sense of anything your wife's going through.
Yes.
You can't put it upon her as she's going through that to tell you everything she's going through.
You don't want to know.
Yeah.
Trust me.
And then God's kicking up your wounds. And I think of the analogy my counselor at the time told me that, when you have a broken bone, the doctor's going to start pushing on it to see exactly where it's broken. And this is what God does. You go into marriage thinking, this is my healing balm, my wife.
Right.
And the Lord's like, sure it is, but it's also my diagnosing finger. It's going to squeeze your bones,
Right.
the breaks, and to see exactly where you're broken. And to get to a place where I could be at peace with pain and thank God for it. Because the initial response to pain is I want to run away. Or once I get to the other side of that, I'll begin to live. And the Christian path is the Sacred Heart of Jesus. I drew so much comfort from that image. His heart that's wounded, burning, on fire, and bleeding is not a pretty image. It's actually a horrifying image, but it didn't become icy cold. It didn't run away. It said, I'm going to go through life with this pain. And this is precisely the path to who we are. And the Lord healed me of so many things. So I had to get to a place where I was at recognizing the pain for what it is and saying, I'm not going to run away.
Right. That was
And
huge.
I'm going to stay here. And while I embody what hurt you while you're going through it, I'm just going to stay here in the pain with you. And beg God for grace.
This is the part I want to say. I mean, I don't want to sound too idealistic, which it almost does, because we've come so far. I mean, Chris and I are really free.
Yeah, really free. It's
Really free
incredible.
right now. So, I mean, at the time when it's acute, I'm not at peace. Peace is not a word I'm describing. I am surviving.
You're in a battle.
And I'm doing my best to keep putting one foot in front of the other, keep taking care of the kids, keep making dinner or buying Subway, or, keep smiling in the house or something. Just put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I love you. Thank you.
I love you too.
But the prayer I would pray that I never thought I'd have to pray. You're engaged to this woman you're in love with, so beautiful, and like everything's going to be great. And all those couples that struggle, they just don't love each other as much as we did when we were 19.
Yeah.
And to be in those moments when I brought to my knees and saying, Lord, you gave me the sacrament of marriage. You gave me this grace. I call upon that grace right now because I can't do this.
Right.
And I need you to kick in with the grace that you promised to give me to fulfill this vow that I took in your presence. That is a prayer that Jesus has always, 100% of the time, every single time answered.
Yeah.
Every time. If you would only answer every time I pray for money with that much generosity,
oh my gosh.
just let me
He
win
does
the lotto.
not pray for money.
No, I don't. But that one, actually, this is the better prayer than anything else you could desire in life.
Yeah.
Give me the grace to be who you call me to be in this moment.
Right.
And it's boom. It's like, thanks for asking, dude.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Totally.
here.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead. Anything else you want to add for how to get through when it's really tough? Bracketing is pretty key.
Right. I'm sorry. I spaced thinking of something else, but that's right. Bracketing. So every single week after therapy, that's when our date nights.
This is where we began date night.
That's the origin of date night. So I asked my therapist, because I would have such amazing insights, don't I have to keep, I was afraid of losing the insight if I didn't just, journal it or just somehow keep it together, or keep thinking about it. She said, do the opposite. Stop thinking about it. Your brain will continue to process it as it needs to. Go have sushi and sake with your husband. And so I just took it, put it there. I didn't deny it. I just put it over there. And I recommend that to my kids. And so all negativity, fear, just put it there. You're not, or depression.
You don't have to solve it right now.
No.
Your brain literally doesn't want you to take a break.
Sadly, it'll be there when you get back to it, like in one sense. But for real.
Yeah, and that's a spiritual devotion for us in our marriage that we do a weekly date night now, and it's our way of proclaiming to one another, no matter what we're going through, that we are more important than that thing we're going through, which seems all important, no matter how bad that something is. Yeah. And you become in a counseling wanting to puke, and be like, bracket, put it aside.
Right. I remember having to pull over in parking lots and wait till I could drive and feel physically okay to drive, and then I'd come home and we'd go to sake or sushi. This is
a great question from a guy named Mike. What helped you when you felt like I'm the problem? Because I know this is something you struggled with a lot.
Oh boy,
when you were going through this.
And
this
was
not a quick process, by the way. We had 10 years of things feeling kind of off and not admitting why to ourselves. A good 5 years of on and off therapy. There'd be times it was like, we got to take a break from this.
Yeah.
So it was 15 years
and then it popped
before,
up like 3 years ago too.
Yeah, just a little bit, and then it went away.
A little bit, but extra painful for me.
Yeah.
Extra painful. It's almost like
me too. It was really tough.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to say, how do you get through acute times? Courage, and praying, and just being like, Lord, I cannot do this. You have to do this for me, and He'll show up. But I'm spacing. What did Mike just say?
Oh, when you felt like I'm the problem.
That's right. That is truly the worst.
Yeah.
It is the worst because I was the problem. I was the one bringing this into our intimate life, but it wasn't my fault.
No.
It was just, it was...
We're one. There's only one problem.
It was just the worst, because I would say I'm sorry, and I would mean it, but then it was almost like, I was admitting fault at the same time, and it just,
That last bout we went through, a friend of ours had a prophetic dream that was really helpful, and we needed it. The Lord speaks overtly when you need it. And she didn't talk to this friend very frequently, but she called and she said, I had a dream that you were wrestling a man named Adam, which would be the embodiment of all men, and you won this time, and it was a final victory. And I needed to hear that, because when this all came up again, it was like, that was the Lord saying, push through this.
Right.
You're going to be okay.
Right. And it wasn't me wrestling a man in a feminist type of way.
Like, no, totally. No, but you crushed him. You body slammed. For me, some of those worst times, and that last bout, a husband, if they're not careful, can add to the perception that you're the problem.
Right.
Gratitude was the perspective shifter for me.
Right.
And this came up, especially that last time. I remember the moment where I shifted to gratitude, because I thought, when am I going to get normal? Like, I have this idea of normal marriage, which, anybody watching have a normal marriage? I'm going to guess you're all saying no, right? We have these stupid ideals of what normal is, and we import them into the gift that we have. And I thought, 10 years of like not normal, and then 5 years of counseling, and this is coming up again. Like, when's the normal come? Will I ever know normal? And when I shifted to gratitude, I realized those people who have a, quote, normal marriage and who haven't been through this will never know what it's like to have your wife walk through hell to be with you.
Why'd you say that? Why'd you do that?
I didn't think I was going to cry.
I love you.
They'll never know that. And I would prefer this. Dude, like, normal's nothing next to that. Yeah. Normal's nothing next to the self-gift that you can have when the person has to go through hell to give you themselves. As abnormal as the gift is. Give me a break. It's all about life and sharing, and there's no, like, the pain, and it might come up again, we'll be in counseling again for something. It's about life together. It's not about this stupid ideal you have about what life together is.
Yeah.
It's about actual real life together.
Yeah.
And that's the gift.
I hate to say it, but in direct response to what Mike's asking, I do think that like you said, intimated, it does fall on the spouse to kind of be the one to say, I know it's not your fault.
Yeah.
If I could do it again, I would beg you to say that
Yeah,
to
and
me
how-
at a time
and I
when
would
I
have done
didn't
it
know.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't, you know.
Love you.
I
Sorry
love
for
you
not
too.
saying that enough.
I forget you.
There is so much beauty
It's-
in Natalie, not despite what you went through, but because of it. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
gotta, and there's things you love about yourself that I love about our marriage that you love
I
about yourself.
really love
because
myself
of this.
now because
Yeah.
of this. Yeah, I think I would be a raging you know what if I had not suffered in this way. I mean, my heart is my favorite thing about myself,
Isn't that awesome?
and it grew because it broke.
Yes.
You know,
And there's the
it grew stronger.
show the tattoo. I'm sorry if you don't like tattoos. Look, I'm
I
sorry,
started
I'm not
late.
sorry, but
Right.
we don't have a lot of them. But she did get this in the Holy Land. Come with me someday. Information on reallifecatholic.com for the pilgrimages. But there's a place outside the Holy Sepulchre that's been tattooing for 28 generations, and she got this is a very ancient Jerusalem cross stamp, and in Aramaic,
What goes this way?
in the language of Our Lady, is the words.
And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord."
Yes.
Because I can say that now. Because of the way I love. Because when I love my children, I know that's God loving them, and I've become a cleaner vessel, and I don't have all this stuff reaching its ugly fingers in.
Dude, we're gonna have to stop soon because I'm becoming. I'm just gonna melt in my chair. It's gonna ruin the entire professional nature of this broadcast. Yes, there's a way you love the kids and all of us that we are grateful for because of what you went through, because of what you pushed through. Don't ever give up.
Courage,
The
courage,
Lord's
courage.
plan is in the midst of the pain. Don't give up. Call upon His grace. Trust Him that this is part of the plan for you personally, for your marriage. Man, wasn't that great? Listen, if you don't want to be happy, be sure not to subscribe. But if you want a more joyful life, the kind of life that God created you for, the kind of life Jesus promised when He said, I came to give you life to the full, then make sure you hit subscribe and share this channel with everybody you know.